There are many haunted settlements in America, whether you believe they exist or not. From haunted fortresses to grisly stories of death and suffering, we've pulled together a list of the spookiest places in the USA. Number 9. Moundsville Penitentiary. The Moundsville Penitentiary in West Virginia was one of America's most violent prisons during its more than 100 years in operation, and it was also the last stop for almost 1,000 criminals. Some of the prisoners lived in cramped quarters, which led to riots. Others were murdered by other prisoners or were hanged or killed in an electric chair. The prison closed in 1995, but there is some speculation that tortured spirits remain behind bars and in the cells during a tour. Number 8. TransAllegheny Lunatic Asylum. This asylum was once known as the Western State Hospital, housing thousands of patients suffering from mental illness, beginning in 1864. Hundreds of people died here before the facility closed in 1994. It is said that the spirits that haunt the asylum today date back to the Civil War era, when the site was used as a military post. Paranormal tours of the facility include visits to the asylum's four main hotspots. The more intense ghost hunt is an overnight paranormal adventure lasting 8 hours with an experienced team of ghost hunters. Number 7. Villisca Axe Murder House. On June 10, 1912, an old white frame house at 508 E. 2nd Street became a grisly crime scene. Murder at the hands of Josiah B. Moore, his wife, their 4 children, and 2 young girls who were visiting them rocked the small town of Villisca, Iowa, and the murderer was never identified. Several residents have claimed to have seen a man with an axe, children crying, and unexplained paranormal activity in this house. It was remodeled in 1994, with no indoor plumbing or electricity. These elements serve as part of the chilling ambience during a lamplight tour or an overnight experience that is available by reservation to groups between April and November. Number 6. Sammy Dean. A former copper mining town, Jerome, AZ, has a paranormal reputation that dates back to the Wild West. There are now only 400 residents in the town, down from 15,000 in its heyday, but legend says there are many more ghosts from mining accidents and gunfights. Sammy Dean shows up in the alleys in search of her killer, who died of a strangulation in the Old Crib district. Her beautiful spirit roams the alleys looking for her killer. Number 5. Cuban Club. In 1917, Cuban Club, which is also called Circulo Cubano de Tampa, was a popular hangout for Cuban immigrants living in the Ybor City neighborhood. It had a ballroom, outdoor band shell and cantina with a stage and dance floor. In today's world, the compound is protected by the National Register for Historic Places, and it is the setting for many ghost stories about spirits playing pianos and riding elevators. Number 4. Fort Mifflin. Fort Mifflin was constructed in 1771 and is the only battleground in the country that is still intact. There are 14 restored buildings on the grounds, which straddle the Delaware River, and lots of ghosts. Among the ghosts that haunt the fort is a screaming woman whose cries are so loud the Philadelphia police have been summoned to investigate. Other characters in local ghost stories include a faceless man wandering the fort, a group of children playing, and a group of dogs walking. Number 3. Moon River Brewery. Moon River Brewery opened in Savannah in 1999, but it stands in a building that dates back to 1821. Before becoming the Moon River Brewery, the City Hotel was a high-end hotel with a violent history during the Civil War. The hotel was the scene of heated skirmishes which resulted in the death of a Yankee in 1860. Today, some customers report seeing bottles mysteriously fly through the air, as well as being pushed, touched, and even slapped by unseen forces. Several ghosts are believed to haunt the billiards room, to be particularly Toby. Number 2. The Sultans Palace. The house at 716 Dauphine Street is a classic example of the French Quarter with an elegant courtyard and wrought iron balconies. However, this residence in the 18th century was a house of horrors for the Sultan, a wealthy man with an excessive lifestyle, multiple wives and children, and a harem of women and young boys kept against their will. People complained about this man's mysterious habits and his tendency to party, to take opiates, and to torture. But the greatest mystery in the house was the Sultan's demise when he was buried alive in the courtyard after his family and harem were hacked to pieces in a bloodbath by an unknown perpetrator. Today his angry spirit is thought to be responsible for the unusual noises, loud music and strong incense smells that waft from the home, as well as unwelcome advances on past female residents who swear the Sultan is still up to his old tricks of groping female visitors. Number 1. Caladesi Courthouse. When Tony Jo Henry murdered a man in Lake Charles in the 1940s, her name was a talk of the town. The same can be said of her beautiful good looks. In order to spring her true love from a Texas prison, the former prostitute charmed a man in a pickup truck to give her a ride. After 3 trials, Tony Jo, who charmed the courtroom and jail staff under suspicion of embezzlement, was convicted by a jury of her crimes. The first woman in California to die in the electric chair was this murderous beauty known as Tiger Girl in 1942. Many workers at the courthouse claim that she lingers in the building, hearing her screams, smelling her burned hair and even touching office equipment. They believe that she locks doors, fiddles with office machinery and meddles in everyday office life at the courthouse.